All right, everybody, this is the second Cougar mascot we will be facing in a week. We had the Houston Cougars last week. Now we got the BYU Cougars this week. We will be back at home in DKR for the first time in what feels like forever. It's been about a month. Now, this line, something to pay attention to, it keeps going up and up and up and up, despite Texas having a backup quarterback. So that's something that there's some faith in Malik Murphy and the outside world that is not just Texas fans, and it's legit money being placed on. So there's people with dollar bills backing their faith in Malik Murphy. Now, the game is going to be at 2:30, and something to pay attention to is the weather. I got this blocking right here. Scattered thunderstorms early on in the day, but it looks like it's going to be clearing up for the Texas football game. Then, immediately after the game ends, right back to storming it is. We've needed the rain bad in Austin, Texas, but nice to know that there's someone up above that's a Longhorn fan. All right. Now, that being said, let's hop right on the video. So if you like the video, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down below your thoughts on the I keep saying Houston Cougars. It's the BYU Cougars. The Texas Longhorns, Bevo, out here cougar hunting. Yeah. So let's hop right on into it, and let's get this preview out of the way. Now, something that we got to just right off the top got to mention. Texas was a lot of injuries versus Houston. Whether we had injuries leading into Houston or players got injured in Houston, we were missing a good amount of our players. I mean, I think that like if you go to the first, like the two deep on the defense, probably like 6 to 10 players. It was bad. But we're getting Ryan Watts back. We're getting Gavin Holmes back. We're getting Terrence Brooks back. We're getting Alfred Collins back. Let me make sure I'm not missing names. We're getting Cole Hudson on the offensive line. That's a big one. He was looking good versus Alabama, then unfortunately got injured the next game versus Wyoming. So, yeah, that's nice to see. You love to see that. Good updates. And we'll be hopping right on into the preview now. So where else do we start off with? The BYU offense. We're going to go with them first. And there's a reason why people with money are sitting here saying Texas should blow them out. But now the line it started at like, I think when Malik Murphy was announced, it was like 15.5, and it's gone up 4.5 points. That's a decent like line movement. But so looking at the passing offense, we'll start off with them, okay? Specifically looking at just Big 12 conference teams versus, and then I didn't have this versus the Power 5, but now I do, versus the Power 5, BYU, bottom of the conference. They're 11th in the Big 12 out of 14 teams, 213 passing yards a game. They're not getting a ton of yards per attempt either. It's 6.5 yards per attempt. That's a 11th out of 14 teams again, so they're tied with Oklahoma State. Just not a good or efficient passing offense, to say the least. Now, something that's interesting is that they're getting a lot of explosive plays, right? So, 1 second right here. So, when you look at explosive plays, they're actually pretty good. They're fourth in the conference in explosive plays. Now, Texas is first. 20-plus yard passing plays. Anything over 20 yards is considered an explosive play. BYU is 8. They have 18. They're tied for fourth with Houston and West Virginia. But Texas with 24, beat Baylor at 22, and TCU at 21. So it's interesting that it almost when you look at, they're not having a lot of success on their offense. They're not an efficient passing offense. They're relying a lot on these big plays, on these big chunk plays, and that almost pairs not. You don't want to see that versus Texas because we've not been pairing well against chunk plays. So this is actually something that is going to be very interesting to watch play out through the game. And then you go to nope. Yeah, we're going to save this for later. No, you know what? Okay. We're not. That's passing. Yeah, no, hold on, sorry. A lot going on there. I'm looking at the passing defense. We'll get to the passing defense numbers here in a little bit. But we're going to stick with the offense right now. Now, rushing offense, again, the bottom of the barrel. Worst in the Big 12. This probably, they're not far behind Houston, but they're right around where Houston's at. And Houston, I mean, if you know what we just did to them, 19 attempts, 14 yards, under 1 yard per carry. I see something very similar happening in this game. That if they now look, they might get one big run here, one big run there, whatever. I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, this is just not a team that I'm really worried about when it comes to, you know, handling Texas on the ground game, because this is one of Texas' strengths, no doubt. Even versus Oklahoma, we actually had a lot better rush defense than I thought we did. This Texas run defense is legit, and they should be. It should not be an area that BYU has any success in. Now, to that credit, BYU, they're also not a team that, like I said, for the passing offense, where they rely a lot on explosive plays. They're not a team. They have had 4 total rushes in the Power 5. Not even the Power 5. Hold on, let me filter out for the Power 5. They've had 4 rushes that went over 20 yards. 4 total rushes over 20 yards. Now, or no, 2 total rushes. Sorry, 2 total rushes. No, 3. My bad, 3. I've listed 3 numbers now. 3 is the official number. I was actually looking at Oklahoma. This is something that's sad. Dylan Gabriel, I believe we are the team that's given up the only 20-plus yard rushes that Oklahoma has had. So, not good rushing offenses from BYU, Houston, or Oklahoma. But this is another game that I think that the Texas defense, like, by all means, should dominate. Because so now that I'm looking at the stats, like even 10-plus yard rushes, they've had 14 total throughout the season versus the FBS Power 5. That's second worst in the conference. That's to compare to Houston. Houston at 12. This is I would actually be very surprised if they had any sort of success versus Texas on the ground game. This is honestly, it's shaping up to be a very good game for the Texas Longhorns. But that at the end of the day, how many times have we said on paper that this game should be favorable for the Texas Longhorns, and they go out there and what do? They don't live up to the potential. So going into sticking with the theme of bad things, now this is not all bad for BYU. There's some good stuff for them in a second, and we're going to get to it. But sticking with the theme of bad things, they're versus Power 5, and not everything. I'm going to stop saying versus Power 5 because I'm just going to keep on be repetitive. Everything that I'm listing here is versus the FBS Power 5, because I really don't care what you did outside of the Power 5. Doesn't matter. We're looking at what you did versus tough opponents. Now, BYU, 30.3% on the third down conversions versus the Power 5, 66 attempts, 20 conversions. It is bad. Bad. That's not something to compare. Texas, we're not great, but 39.7. Look, it's not great, but I'll take that number over 30.3. 30.3 is atrocious. And actually, if you were to go and look at how bad that is. That is 101st in the nation. So that's pretty far down there. Now, Texas, like to go show how much that 8% difference in the numbers are, 8-9% difference. Texas is 47th in the country at 39.7% third down conversion percentage. So it's that's something that the Texas defense, we should not be allowing them to keep staying on the field. We should force them to punt the ball often. Either force them to punt or force them to go for it on fourth down conversions. Now, I did have that up here. Well, Now this is an area that they're not bad, but they're not great in. They've had 7 attempts on fourth down, 3 conversions, so almost a 50% conversion percentage. So it's not it's not all bad for BYU, okay? And that's not even close to what I was saying for the good stats. When you talk about their good stats, they're a team that's going to be forced to a lot of turnovers. Okay, they have two defenders that are in the top 5 for both passes defended and then also interceptions. They have 2 defenders that are in the top 3, so they're second and third. And they, as far as individual players go, for forcing an interception, knocking a pass down, whatever. BYU, they have been very good in this turnover margin. So they're leading the turnover margin with, it's a 1 turnover margin. Anything in the positive, you love to see that if that's your team. This is going to be, that'll be interesting to see how Malik Murphy handles that, because Malik Murphy going into his first start against a team that they force turnovers. They do. And particularly interceptions. It's not like it's a bunch of fumbles forced. They are out there picking the ball off. So that'll be something that's interesting to watch. Now, another thing that they're good at, they don't let opponents get 4th down conversion percentages. So when an opponent is going for it on 4th down, they're not allowing it a lot of, it's a low percentage of the time. But then again, you go and look at 3rd down conversion, bottom of the Big 12, allowing a 3rd down conversion on 47% of the. That's 11th in the not the nation, 11th in the Big 12 versus Power 5. So, going on their offense, it's not amazing, right? But no, I'm not. I don't even know what I was about to try to say. It's not good at all. But at the end of the day, there are some areas that are they're not this is what I was trying to say. Not amazing, but there are some areas that they actually are pretty decent at, and these are little small areas that, if you think about it, they could end up being massive deals in the game. So we'll see about that, and we'll see how that affects the game, because if you throw interceptions, look, that's something that can turn all these stats on their heads. You can make some of these stats where you're inefficient on offense or you're bad on offense irrelevant if you're picking the ball off frequently versus Texas. So something to pay attention to. Now going to the defense, passing defense again. Look, they force a lot of interceptions, yes, but bad on. They're bottom in touchdowns allowed. They're actually middle of the road for yards per attempt. They're actually pretty good on that. But when you go to completion percentage, again, bottom of the Big 12, yards per game, bottom of the Big 12. It's a reoccurring thing that you're going to see. Again, rushing yards per game, they're averaging and this versus the Power 5 FBS, 186 rushing yards per game allowed, averaging 4.82 yards per rush. Not a lot of touchdowns. So this is something that pretty much it feels like when you combine a lot of so they're pretty stiff and feisty in the red zone, not allowing opponents to score in the red zone. Well, you can kind of combine these two things and go, okay, teams have had to get a long, if they want to get a touchdown on them, it's got to be a long rushing play. Well, I think that Texas has the running backs that can get this done. Jonathan Brooks, you've seen him breaking off a lot of rushes, a lot of big rushes. Cedric Baxter looking healthy. That burst is coming through. I would honestly, with how the rain is coming and, Malik Murphy being in his first start. Now, I have a ton of confidence in Malik Murphy. I think that he's going to do very well. But, man, just pound the ball. Pound the rock. Pound the rock. There is success to be had running the ball against this BYU team, specifically this BYU defense. Tackles for loss. This is something that goes to point about their rush defense and how bad it is. They are the worst team in the Power 5. Not Power 5. Worst team in the Big 12 versus the Power 5. 16 tackles for loss. It's not good. It's not good. They're not getting in the backfield, and then if they are in the backfield, they're not getting tackles. They're not getting behind the line of scrimmage on screens. It's just, it's not it's a huge stark comparison where you have I think I just closed the tab, but I think Texas. Let me pull it up right here. where you have Texas at 33 and like teams like Oklahoma also at 39. So like we're over double the amount of tackles for loss that they've had. It's just, and that's a common thing with a lot of teams. Now another thing, Ryan Sanborn, probably not going to be a day that he's going to be out on the field a lot because BYU, they're averaging allowing the opponents to punt the ball 3.2 times per game. That is 13th in the country, or not. I keep saying in country, in the conference. it's they're not forcing the teams to be punting the ball a lot. That also speaks to how bad they are in the third down conversion percentage game. Total defense. Again, 450 yards per game. This is just not a. It's not a good. It's a team that BYU should be beatable by all means. And like you go and you look at the scoring stats, okay? So on offense scoring, BYU, they're actually good. Like when you go to the red zone, they're good. Whether it's forcing opponents to not score, okay? Now, I will say this: they're actually not that great versus opponents. Opponents are scoring 80% of the time in the red zone, but it is 52% touchdown percentage. So that's kind of the middle of the road in the Big 12, leaning on the top end. They are forcing a lot of field goals, so they do get kind of stiff a little bit. But where their good red zone stats are is they're actually scoring, they're getting in the end zone 58% of the time, almost 60% of the time when they get into the red zone. Now, they are walking away with points on the board. 88%. This is actually a little bit better than Texas. 88% of the time in the red zone. So they are an efficient offense in the red zone, and that is something to pay attention to. With a Pete Kwiatkowski bend but don't break, we're actually going to try and force teams to have long drives and stop them in the red zone. Well, it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, scoring defense, Texas is number one in the Big 12. 20.4 points per game versus the Power 5. BYU is at 30.8 points per game in the Power 5. And then also scoring offense. Texas leading the Big 12, 34.6 points per game versus the Power 5. And then BYU, 27.6. So you can kind of see why, like, the numbers are really saying, hey, this should be a blowout. Okay? The numbers are agreeing with what the Vegas people are saying and saying, hey, Texas should absolutely handle this team, no matter what quarterback is out there on the field. So we'll hop right on to the matchup stats right now. Now, going into the matchup stats, so the side that my camera is on, that's going to be Texas on offense and BYU on defense. On the other side, that's going to be BYU on offense and then Texas on defense. So BYU, looking at their offensive stats, this is, yards per game. Like we kind of went over this. Yards per game. They're not getting a lot of yards per game. 124th in the nation. Now, when you go to a per play standpoint, it's not as bad as the total yardage would appear to be. They're a little bit more efficient, but still, this is not a good team. Versus Texas, that's almost top 25 in every single defensive category. Now, this is a Texas defense that's improved, but we still want to see more out of Texas, and I think that this is a game that you can certainly see it happening. Offensively, Texas, again, top 25, and I'm not looking at third down conversion, fourth down conversion, red zone scoring, but we're top 25 in every single category. This is a good Texas offense. Whether you look, 31 points should be enough to beat Houston by a good margin. That's all I'm going to say. Texas defense, they need to play better last week. I'm not gonna try and make excuses for that. Now, BYU on defense, they're not bad, right? At least the numbers don't look like it. Not bad, but pretty middle of the road when you talk about the FBS as a whole. Now, BYU, the passing game, like I said, it's just Keaton Slovis, he's limited, man. It's not good. But what's going to be interesting is just, like I said, keep in mind they get a lot, or not get a lot, but they rely frequently on those 20-plus yard passing plays, explosive passing plays. Texas has not been, as you saw versus Houston last week, Texas has not been good versus we have not been good versus explosive passes. So this is something that is going to be interesting to watch, and that's also a problem that we had last year. That's almost like the next marker to knock over is, can we start limiting these explosive plays? Because the good teams, that's going to be a problem versus good teams. You saw it versus Oklahoma. Now Texas in the passing game, yards per pass, very efficient, completion percentage. This is something that I've been harping on. Quinn Ewers has been very good. He's been efficient. He's been taking care of the football, not throwing interceptions. You can get mad at him for checking the ball down or whatever. At the end of the day, he still has a high yards per pass number, almost top 15 in the country. He's been doing well. It'd be interesting to see how Malik Murphy does with this. I think that you're going to start to see more long passes. You're going to see more confidence from Malik Murphy. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Now, but he's also going up against a pass defense that yards per pass number looks good, but at the end of the day, last year, this is something that Texas had. We were pretty good in the yards per pass number, but we were questionable in some of the other numbers, and you kind of saw how that turned out last year for Texas. So, did it skip over the rushing? It did skip over the rushing. Okay, well, we'll start out with the rushing here. We'll go back to the rushing. Now, BYU rushing. I told y'all. This is it's not just Big 12. It is bottom of the barrel for just the FBS in general. All FBS teams, not just Power 5. 120th in the country in yards per rush. 126th in the country in rush yards per game. It's not a time that you want to be going up against a top 15, top 25 rushing defense. And honestly, I think that Texas is probably a top 10 rushing defense. Just some of the numbers have been there. There's been like a game here or there that they've let that slide. You got to go on that back, and this is a game that you can certainly do so. Compare that to the other side. Texas has a very good rushing attack, and BYU, they can't stop the run. I mean, it's like paper mache is trying to stop a football team from entering a football field. You know, they're gonna break through that thing no matter what. Usually, there's a cool little slogan painted on it. Go Longhorns, and run onto the field, or go Hutto Hippos or whatever. Not from Hutto, but just a random team. So, a shout out to DJ Campbell for the Hutto Hippos. But yeah, so this is just looking at the stats. Turnover margin, that's one that leans in BYU's favor. Penalties, that's something that's very interesting to watch. Is both teams don't pay attention to these numbers over here. Okay, don't pay attention to that. That's opponents. It's combined. I don't really care. I'm not looking at that. What I'm looking at is I'm looking to see how well BYU has done not giving up penalties, and they're pretty good. That's the sign of a good. That's the sign of a well-coached team. Now, on the flip side, right here, you can say the same thing for Texas. Not forcing a lot of penalties, not making a lot of stupid mistakes, and that's ultimately how you start winning football games. And as we've done every single week so far, I don't know if every single week. We've done it most weeks in the past weeks. But we're going to be heading on to Underdog Fantasy Football, as you can already see. And we're using Code Nash for our first $1 deposit. And we're getting matched up to $100. So you put in $100 using Code Nash, you're going to get, your account's going to show $200. They're giving you $100 for free. Minimum of $10. Go ahead and use that. That's one of the best ways to support me. And I really do appreciate every single one of y'all who does that. Now, Malik Murphy, we're not going to be sitting here. I'm not going to touch that. I don't know. Like, I know, look, I'm not sitting here saying Malik is going to be a rushing quarterback. Okay? We'll start out with a spicy one. There's a chance that Malik could get a little short rushing touchdown. Red zone rushing touchdown. I don't think it's going to happen. It's not something that I would go out there. It's certainly a spicy thing to say, but I mean, hey, Whittington, look, okay, yeah, these are too easy. These are guys that could easily end up in the end zone. I'm gonna go with Whittington because we want it as spicy as possible. Okay, we want this thing spicy. Now you go and you look at the Keaton Slovis lines. It's look 177 passing yards. This is L.J. Martin. You kind of almost got to take this. So this is my spicy pick. Look, I don't recommend doing this. Okay, I do not recommend doing a spicy line, but spicy line it is. We did one for fun anyways. But so starting out with Keaton Slovis. Now again, we're gonna be just for those of y'all that do not know, I do a show, Get Your Horns Up, with Aaron Little and Travis Gailey. Orange Blood's live. Go check that out every 6:30, 7:30, Monday through Friday. And on Thursdays, we do a prediction. We do a prediction of what the individual players are going to do. We give our game predictions, score predictions. You're going to be getting that here in a minute. Blowout is coming for Texas, in my opinion. But, man, I've been pretty good on these individual player stat lines, so we're going to be going through and using these stat lines to go ahead and craft our selections here. So Malik Murphy, what do I have Malik Murphy? I got Malik Murphy 20 of 25, 80% completion percentage, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So what do we have on here that matches up with that? We got 238 passing yards. I think he's going to get that. Okay, now wet game, potentially. Does that affect it? Yes, possibly, but Malik Murphy, like I said, he's confident, and he is going to pass the ball downfield. I think that is going to happen 100%. Jonathan Brooks, I got him at 120 yards. I got 120 yards. This is something that it's hard. It's hard to do it, but at the end of the day, this rushing defense is just. Hold on, I said it's hard. It is not hard, and I'm going to favor Jonathan Brooks, one of my favorite players. But not hard. Jonathan Brooks should have a great day. I know Cedric Baxter is going to eat into his touches, eat into his carries, but this BYU rush defense is just bad. So Keaton Slovis going on to what I had him at 200. I have him at 210 yards. Now this is making me question. Okay. 177 people with money are saying under 180 passing yards for Keaton Slovis. I'm gonna go higher, okay, but this is something that I'm paying attention to. This is something that's really opened my eyes. Y'all are seeing the first time. I haven't seen these numbers until just now, same time that y'all have seen them. This is something that I'm going to go higher on Isaac Rex. Rex is going to be one of his focal points in the game, I believe. Yeah. But L.J. Martin, rushing touchdown. They only have higher. They don't have lower. Would love a lower on that one. But Darius Lasser, we're going to go lower on the rushing yardage. I did not have that in my prediction for the game. Now, you know what? Hold on. We're going to take these guys out. You have to have at least one player from the opposing team, so that's why we're leaving Keaton Slovis in. But I want to be able to hammer in some of these other ones with Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. I'm taking, like I said, Malik Murphy. He's going to put the ball downfield, and I certainly think that that's going to pay dividends for this pick and slot selection that I just put in. Higher to 70.5 receiving yards for Xavier Worthy. Higher 45, basically 44.5. If Adonai hits 45, I'm good on that one. Jonathan Brooks hits 111 yards, I'm good on that. If he has 239 passing yards, I'm good on that. I think that this is certainly a pick'em slot that I'm actually I got some faith in it. All right, everybody. So a lengthy. I look. There's probably a little bit of it's probably if you watched all the way through to this point, I really do appreciate you. That is 100%. It's probably taken a lot to stick through this long, so thank you very much. But as always, hit the like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down below your thoughts on the game. I still am going to give you all my prediction here, okay? I know I'm not hiding from that. But I think Texas, I'm going to stick with what I said I was actually on Texas Sports Unfiltered with Fire the Cannon. Might be firing off that cannon here tomorrow. But I was on their show. They asked me for a prediction. I was not ready for it. But I'm going to stick with what I said. Well, I'm actually going to go a little bit lower than what I said from there. I think I said for them, I said like 48-6. But I'm going 42-6. Texas Longhorns are going to walk away with the win. And as always, if you want to go hit those pick'em selections, go ahead and use code NASH for your first $1 deposit. Helps me out a lot. And as always, hook 'em!